be like, no, it's not because they're English dogs, but some would listen and they started to understand.
Yeah.
You know, and we always kind of with our children do this like gentle tickling thing. And a couple of the kids would come and sit on me right at the beginning in church, and so I would just, you know, touch them gently on their arms or something, tickle them on their hands.
Fall asleep. The amount of times that Mama Maria
and then
Aisha
children would just come up to us in the sunset. Like they've never experienced being, you know, because they just get, you know, dragged around like this, and pushed down. Well, and then I was teaching them to do it to each other, and they would all sit.
But I guess the example, like you said, being the example is something, just seeing that there is a different way, because they don't go out of the community, so they don't see how the rest of the world lives. I mean, they watch on TV, you know, sometimes they have these TV with these soap operas and stuff like that. And that's not even good, because, you know, soap operas aren't really a good example of how you should be with each other, I guess. But yeah, so I think being the example, and then also that would, for you as well, that would be quite important as a husband, because a lot of the time, and it's just their culture, it's just their tradition, like the woman moves in with the husband's family, and then the women basically stick together, and then the men kind of stick together, and everything's quite separate. Even when we've done stuff and we said, oh, should we do like a beach day, or we'll go to the pool or something like that, the men will all go, but the women, and even when they can go, when the husbands are like, yeah, come, like they're willing to, the women just don't want to leave the community, do they? They just don't want to go. Like even last time we were going to the Super Bowl, like
the little girls,
the younger girls.
But once they're committed,
then
they.
We were lucky we got, you know, Penka
really
came
blessed
with her husband.
That we managed to get Penka and her husband out for a swim.
But so it is, I guess, setting an example of, and then teaching. You know, you have to. It's the education. It's actually, if you read the Bible, it says, you know, how the husbands should treat their wives and how wives should treat their husbands. So actually, if they know what the Bible says and they want to live life according to the Bible, then they should treat different, and also with their children, and also that, you know, that I believe also, I know people disagree with me, but I also believe that feeds down to the animals as well, because the animals are also God's creatures.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's education, it's setting the example, showing that things can be different. Even when it comes to, you know, getting married and, you know, having babies and things like that, they only know their way. That's it. And I know it's hard for people who have never been in an environment like that to see that.
They think our babies are freezing when we go out there because we don't wrap them in 10 blankets and put 2 pairs of tights on them.
Like, seriously. And we just want to go there and just strip the babies off of like all these massive blankets that are like, and they wrap them up with like twine.
I've never seen anyone win a baby.
So it's, but then this also leads on to, wait, what's the next question?
You want the next question now?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. What do you love most about Natasha?
Okay.
Nadezhda.
And the people that live in the community.
They live where? Where do they live?
And the people that live in the community.
In where? What community?
What do you love most
about
community?
What's it called?
Nadezhda.
Okay, moving swiftly on. Yeah. What do you love
it's
most?
hard to say.
What do you love most about the community and the people that live within that community?
Okay, that's okay. Just, I know it's hard to say, and it's taken a lot of practice to say it. So anyway.
It's just.
I've been practicing a long time.
What was it? What do we love most?
Yeah. What do you love most about the community?
It's that they have nothing and they'll give you everything.
Yeah.
And that they're just so happy to see you.
Yeah.
And they're not judgy. They're not like, you know, you're just one of them. I think that's probably, and I love the dancing. And
do you know what?
Do you know what else I love?
It's one thing, and it's only something that, and it's a little something, but I'm all about modesty to a degree. I don't need to burp her up or anything. I'm not face masking because that's different. But in England, and I try to breastfeed when I'm in my own home or breastfeed however I like, but you know, when I'm out and about, I try and do it discreetly, although I do feed on demand, and I always have. And so, you know, if she's hungry, I will feed her. You get a lot of stares in England, and you get a lot of tucks, and, you know, it's frustrating because I'm feeding my child, you know.
And dirty looks.
In Nadezhda,
you just walk around.
you
Everyone
can just
feeds.
breastfeed
It's
your
normal,
baby,
it's like-
and it's not sexualised at all,
No.
even though there's so much sexualisation
yeah,
in Nadezhda, and a lot. It's quite sad actually how the children are kind of, you know, sexualised to a certain extent as well, you know. But there's nothing sexual about. There's no offence, so, you know, about breastfeeding. There's just a real relaxed feeling. All the women have got babies, and all the women are breastfeeding, and it's just completely normal and natural, and that was so nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think as well. Oh, what was the thing I said? Actually, there's one more thing I was going to say. And I can't remember what it was. No. It's okay. I'm sure it'll come back to me. I said there's auntie, and I said, what do I love about there?
Do you know what? One of the
Anyway,
things that
it'll come
I
up.
really
It'll
love
come up.
about Nadezhda is when you try and share the gospel with someone in this country, they don't even believe in God because they have been westernized and they have been taught in school about evolution and about monkeys and all sorts of nonsense. So they don't even believe in God, and so you have so many barriers to get through in this country. But in Nadezhda, no one has ever questioned whether God is real.
Yeah.
They just have a lot of sin, and so like everybody else, but that's the only barrier. So most of them are ready to repent. Most of them. You don't get mocked at or laughed at or ridiculed for telling someone about Jesus, ever. They want to hear it. They're ready to hear it. Some, if they walk away, it's because they don't want to let go of their sin. But there's never a question of whether God exists, ever.
Yeah.
I've never come across that at all there. And I love that because that's one of the beauties of them being cut off from the rest of the world. They haven't been filled with the indoctrination, you know, that comes from your TV in your school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remembered what it was that I was going to say.
Good! Sorry.
What is it? No, it's fine.
Jumping in on your
Yeah,
video.
you're supposed to jump in. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is that in the evenings, especially after church, we used to go back to Zlatka's in Zlatka's room, and everyone was in there.
Yeah.
Zlatka, all the wives, all the kids, you know, and everyone would just we would just play for hours, and we'd just sit and drink coffee like at 10 o'clock at night or whatever, and it made me really lonely when I came home, because you just always have that
big
family time,
big family feel.
yeah, and it was just, you know, everyone had, sometimes unless you know who's who, you don't even know whose kid people belong to, because everyone just has each other's kids, you know, holding this one or doing that one or giving that one some food or this other, you know, so it's that family time that you just don't generally do here. And that actually is probably the thing I like the most, and that's probably what I look forward to the most, is having that family time with Zlatka and everyone in the room. And most of the time there's not even men there, it's just the women, so it's like everyone's just yeah.
Last question. What is the plan moving forward?
So, we talked about this when we were there. I think we've mentioned it in other videos. One when we did the staff meeting when we were there, and I think you mentioned it the other day as well.
Yeah, answer questions.
So, I think for us, the vision is to try and get hold of what the vision was for Bojadar's dad. And it's education, church, Bible study, you know, that church life, I guess.
Salvation and education.
So,
the church and the learning centre. So
the learning centre, so we can teach, church so they can get physically fed, so they can get spiritually fed, and feeding so they can get physically fed. The clothes and things like that also, you know, come into it. but it's more teaching, educating the next generation to come up and
Make a change.
one, be more educated so they can get better jobs. Two, be more confident to go out of the community to get those better jobs. To be spiritually sound so that their moral standing isn't to steal and rape and, you know, drink and smoke and all that, you know. So that's part of, you know, the education and the spiritual education is to get all that in place so that they can, hopefully this next generation, these teenagers, these kids can just look after themselves. Because I mean, we're not going to be there for a while.
And make a change as well, like what you're saying in their homes with the child abuse and the animal abuse, and just, you know.
So the educating, and Angel does such a good job of that as well, you know, and he teaches about how to look after a baby, you know, about the baby being too, you know, even little things like that.
When we went there, Portugal said there's a new rule on the marriage and, you know, having a baby young. He had already done all of the prep, like, for teaching the kids, you know, and I just was so impressed.
Do you know what,
because
though?
he was, like, already, he was
he's
ready
doing
with
it.
all of these cutouts.
But do you know what? He does it on bits of cardboard with stuck out bits from magazines and stuff, and it would be so nice to be able to equip the learning centre with a bit more.
Yeah, every couple of months we send
Like,
over some
just-
money
yeah.
just to get new notebooks and
But
pens
it would
and
be
basic
so nice
stuff.
to kind of have something a bit more than cutting out newspaper. I mean, you can just imagine him sitting there cutting out magazines and sticking these pictures of babies and bottles and nappies and things like that on this thing. And it's kind of like, it would be so nice for him to be like a bit more equipped to actually have a bit more, not a professional thing, but you know, just rather than him having to sit there and cut stuff
Make
out.
it
But
easier for him as well.
yeah, just a bit more equipment for him would be great. But he does a really good job of doing that and teaching
like
stuff outside the
computer
box.
and a printer.
Well, like a computer and a printer, maybe even like a whiteboard or something, so we could project stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
There was all of this. It's probably all broke because there was all of that years ago in the learning centre.
But and then also being able to teach whoever needs to use it how to use it properly.
Right.
Because even like the way something, you know, but then that all comes in the education centre, like anyway. Because then, if there are a couple of computers, even if they're very basic, we can teach the kids how to use it properly.
Yeah.
So that if they did learn English, learn how to use a computer, they can go to Bagas, get a job in a hotel, and they're earning, you know, a much better wage than.
You know, one thing I noticed. Sorry, but one thing I noticed as well, because I really love, because they don't read and write, so none of them are going to read their own Bibles. When we visit the learning centre, 9 times out of 10, they're either learning scripture or praying. So often, I mean, there's so many other things that they're being taught, but it always starts and finishes, and the focus is always on, you know, feeding them the gospel and the truth, which, you know, it's like a Christian homeschool, isn't it? They're just the dad.
You're not allowed to say that because you're not allowed to homeschool in Bulgaria, so it's not a homeschool.
I said it's like.
As you can see, I've been doing the research, I've been doing the paperwork on stuff and what we are and are not allowed to call things. So, but yeah, no, it is. So moving forward, educating, making sure church is running properly, and they're being taught life skills, they're being taught spiritual skills, and that's all really at the minute we can do. If there are anything else, like building projects and stuff, it's not really.
No,
we want them to be able to build their own houses.
Right.
I think that's what there's no point. We can go and we can build everyone a house, but it's not. You need to change from the inside out.
Yeah.
I think so.
Whenever there's a bit of spare money, that the focus is going to be on doing more food, and not really, you know, unless God puts it on our heart to do something for a family. But it does, you know.
You can't build everyone a house.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, moving forward, educating, church, feeding, and just teaching basic.
And giving them a bit of fun.
Fun
You
as
know,
well.
When we go out, I know that it just looks like we're having a scream, which we are. You know.
And sometimes we do actually scream. But it's not all fun screaming that we do. I've walked down the street screaming quite a few times. But yeah, I do remember.
That's his life
Oh
there.
dear. I do remember one time, was it Pastor Deanne? And I literally was, he was really not being nice. So I turned a bit gypsy and I was just like, rah, rah, rah. It wasn't my finest moment. Actually. And apart from adults, I mean, most of the time it's the kids that scream. Most of the time it's the boys.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, no, I think when you're there as well, you kind of become a little bit gypsy. Like I wouldn't speak to, like when I was doing youth here, I would never speak to the youth here, I would speak to the youth there. It's like, shut up, get out.
Yeah.
Go home, go home.
Chantimenge.
Go home. Go splashing water at them when they won't leave you alone. Anyway. Yeah, everyone touches it. No children were actually harmed by us.
And they came back because they enjoyed it.
But yeah, they were like, more water.
So hot. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is funny. You do become a little bit more.
I didn't realise how much I had changed because I used to have OCD issues before moving out there.
That must be hard.
Right.
And Cat's only been there once, and he's like, oh no.
And then when I moved back after being there for 20 months, I was just like, my days, I think I've turned into, I was so different, so different. It's just even so hard to explain how, but
Yeah.
just adapting back into life here was really difficult. Yeah.
It is so different, especially because you got to live there. Like
Yeah.
I never lived. I got to go. I kind of, had a short experience, but then I got to come home.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go to, usually stay at a hotel just overnight because of the travelling, and we got to go in the chlorine so. and then go home. But yeah, especially in winter when they're just burning everything and you just smell
They burn plastic.
everything. You come home and
And
you empty
rubbish.
your suitcase and just everything
Oh,
just
and it
smells like
smells.
smoke.
It took about 6 weeks to get the smell off my jacket. So.
Oh yeah, because you were there in January. Yeah, it was winter.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
if you put your face close enough to my jacket, you
You
can
can
still
still smell it. You can still smell where?
That's my little bit of the community, I tell
When
you.
we brought home 2 animals from Natasha. Now, when I go to Natasha
Oh, my
and I
goodness.
come home, Alfie greets me different. He's
He's
just like, he can smell me. It's
Yeah.
the smell.
Nice.
He's all over me. He's like,
You'll remember that smell because you do. Once you've
Yeah.
experienced it and smelled it,
yeah, Kate
You'll
doesn't
never
like
forget
that.
it.
She's
No.
like,
This is Alfie. Say hi, Al.
all the way from the
It's
street.
Alfie. He's tired.
But you're right, yeah, I'll never ever forget that smell.
Yeah.
Once you've been there.
And even
once, you
sometimes,
never
like this
forget
time of
it.
year when people start doing bonfires and stuff, like even me and David would walk out the house. Remember in Epping, and they used to burn round the corner, and me and David would walk out the house and be like, smells like a dish. It's like, but yeah. So I mean, I think moving forward, it's about keeping the learning centre going. It's about keeping church running, as long as lockdown, doesn't kind of kick in again and stuff like that. And also, Bojodar's going to be teaching English to the staff as well, isn't he now?
Yeah.
So.
Hope in Bulgaria is completely run off of your donations. We hire about 8 staff. Is it 8? I don't know. We've just employed Andre because we had an overrun of new children turn up at the drop-in centre, and we really need these kids sponsored. We have 60 children. 5 of them have a sponsor. There are other children that have sponsors, but they're not children that are attending the learning centre at the moment. Maybe they're a bit older or whatever, but of the children that turned up on week 1, I haven't seen the register since. We need to have a little compare, have a little look and see if we need to add any more children to the list. there are about 55 children looking for a sponsor. And until they all have a sponsor, we are paying the staff wages and buying all the food with general fund, with the money that comes in, you know, and this could be going on other things if these children get sponsored. So if you're interested in sponsoring a child, get in touch with either myself or Natasha, because it's so important that these children get a sponsor. I put a video out last week with all of their photos on, and we got a little bit of interest, you know, for a couple of days, and now it's gone quiet again. So we really need to promote that video, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, as well, I mean, even some of the kids who aren't going to the learning centre but are going to outside school, like, we need them to be going to proper school as well, so they can get their papers, they can get their education. Because it's only then that they'll be able to, you know, drive and get proper jobs.
Absolutely.
And kind of things like that.
We are encouraging even the children that attend the learning centre to go to Bulgarian school as well.
Yeah.
We open the learning centre morning and afternoon, and Bulgarian school you go to either in the morning or the afternoon. So any child is able to attend both. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's, you know, even if they're not regularly coming to the learning centre, they need to be equipped, like I think you said it in the last video, to go to the Bulgarian school, because they need clothes, they need shoes, you know, you can walk into the learning centre, some of the kids walk in half dressed, but, you know, and then obviously we have clothes there most of the time that we can just chuck on them, but they can't go to Bulgarian school. A lot of them can't go because they just don't have clothes to go in. Or they don't have, you know, money to get the bus, or, you know, for lunch and kind of things like that. So it's important
it will help with
for everyone.
You know, they're less likely to get bullied if they're learning what Angel teaches them: social skills, manners, hygiene, all the important things that they need to equip themselves to maybe.
And we have a toilet in church
targets
as well, so when they're in church or when they're in the learning centre, they can actually use a toilet. Because simple thing like, how do you use a toilet? You know, most of them don't know at home how to use a toilet. They just go wherever they go.
Visit us in our house, and I go to use the bathroom, and I would be like, what happened in
you
here?
Go inside that, not everywhere else.
There's poo tissue everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching.
That's quite long.
It doesn't matter, it's fine. If you have any questions for either myself, Natasha, Kaz, or Jasmine, drop them in the comments. We will make as many of these videos as you guys want to see. I will make one about my experiences in Natasha as soon as possible. And yeah, just keep dropping in questions. We'll just make these videos for fun, and just, you know, for those of you that are interested to learn about Natasha, our experiences and stuff.
And if you'd like to come out, also I'm going to be getting a laptop for my birthday, hopefully. We're going to go get that so I can make sure that everyone has a bit easier access to the application packs, because you will need to fill in an application form. We will be checking references. And if you already have your police checks and stuff like that, then great. Otherwise, you know, we can sort that out. But yeah, it's going to be a bit different from now on. Yeah.
Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, you didn't fill in an application form, Kaz.
I'll do one right now.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.